Hey viewers, my name's Cara. I'm your host for Tuesdays here on the Pagan Perspective. This week we're talking about what we have been interested in lately, what we've been reading, what we've been studying, and so on. This week in particular, I have been reading on a more planned schedule, we'll say. The most recent video on my personal channel, CuteWitch772, actually goes over this. I did a video about how I decided to do a reading plan to help me try to finish all the books that I've had ongoing through most of 2020 that, because of pandemic and everything, just like all the stuff going on, I had trouble focusing, so I wasn't able to read as much as I normally would, and then I was trying to be part of a bunch of book clubs and discussion groups and facilitate discussion of books myself, and some things took priority at different times, other things got put on the back burner, so to speak. So yeah, recently one of the things I'm up to is planning, and I got myself a student planner in August because I realized I really needed that again to try to help me organize things better, because I was using just a monthly calendar view, which is great for some things, but I found that I really needed more space for each day to try to list for myself the tasks that I wanted to try to accomplish every single day. So I got a student planner. That kind of brings me to another thing that I've been up to. The question also mentioned, if we have any hobbies that maybe we've taken up recently, or hobbies that we've gotten back to that we previously didn't have so much time for, and maybe we've gotten back into anything. So I guess sort of a hobby for me that's new is planning using stickers that are made for planners, which is actually something that Megan Sabirzri helped me out with, because Megan also designs stickers for planners, if you didn't know that, and sent me a whole bunch of ones that they have designed. They're not all designed for the type of planner or the size planner or the layout of planner that I got, because I just got an inexpensive student planner because it's what was available at my grocery store, and I just looked at it and I was like, hey, I've been meaning to pick one of these up, let's go ahead and grab it. At the time I wasn't aware that I would be learning to plan with stickers, so I wasn't really thinking about like how that would work out, but I'm having a lot of fun figuring out how to do it. And I'm one of those people that really enjoys, and my grandma used to kind of make fun of me for this, just like not like make fun of me, but she used to laugh about it because she just thought it was so strange, because it's not something that she would do. But she would stand there at the kitchen counter and watch me for hours, so you would think, like, what's really the difference between watching someone do a task for hours and doing it yourself? But I'm the type of person who likes to do little painstaking organizational tasks that just take forever. So for example, one of the things that I'm doing to make the stickers work, even though they weren't designed for my size of planner, is actually measuring out the size on some of the stickers that does fit my planner, and then using a ruler to connect the lines and draw straight lines with a pencil, and then cutting along that line ever so carefully, so I end up with stickers that fit better. And it takes a lot of extra time, but that's the kind of little like repetitive detailed task that I like to do sometimes. I'm not saying like if you told me I had to do that all day, every day, forever, that I would enjoy that. But it's the kind of thing that like, if I'm in the mood to do a task like that, I love it, So, and I don't care that it takes a few hours when I do sit down to do it, because I either put on a video to listen to in the background or I listen to music. My partner recently got me a CD player, like a boombox CD player. I'm sitting here wondering, why is my tea not boiling yet, my water for my tea? And it's because I forgot to turn the boiler on, because I put the water there when I was getting ready to start this video. Forgot to go back and do that. Cool. Anyway, So that's the thing I'm doing, making tea. And where was I? I'm gonna have to edit this video now. My partner got me a CD player, boombox style CD player, the kind that you can like pick up and carry. Not a big one, not a huge one, but like a small one, and it has radio. And that's another thing that I decided that I kind of wanted for my own semblance of mental health at home, because, and so I guess you could say that that's kind of like getting back into a hobby of mine. I have a physical CD collection because my mom used to be, still is actually, a karaoke hostess and DJ, but she used to have to use physical CDs because years ago that's what you did, and we had just extensive books of CDs and books that people would flip through to tell us what CD the song that they wanted to sing could be found on, and then we would have to go and cross-reference and find the CD and everything, right? So eventually my mom upgraded to a little more digital setup, at which point she was also moving across the country. So I got a lot of the physical CDs, and I also had my own small CD collection as a teen. And I used to just listen to CDs over and over in my room constantly while doing pretty much anything else. And I decided recently that like that's what felt like it was missing from when I go around my house and I'm just cleaning the house and doing household chores, washing the dishes, or doing little things like cutting stickers down to a certain size. I like to listen to my CDs. I don't use music streaming services, and also if I'm doing things like on my phone, then I feel like I can't interrupt one thing that my phone is doing in order to do something else on my phone. So I don't like everything being on my phone. I like some things being separate. So what I used to do at my old house was I actually would put my CDs into my DVD player and just let my CDs play through the TV speakers. And that worked fine. But when we moved, and I moved in with my partner, we got rid of my old TV. We still have my DVD player somewhere, but that is no longer the setup. And so I have a CD player boombox thing now, so I can listen to CDs again and do my little painstaking tasks that I like to do, or do my household chores while listening to things, or whatever. So planning and organizing what I am reading, and also everything else that I'm doing, such as like, when am I going to try to do the dishes? When am I going to try to clean the kitchen or clean the bathrooms or whatever? I'm able to put that in my planner now, so that's something I've been doing. As for something that I've been studying, or like what I've been studying or what I've been up to, what I've been interested in, is this water gonna boil at any point, I wonder? What have I been doing? I've been working on researching just a little bit, like just tiny little bits of biographical information about all of the authors whose books I currently own. And I've done videos on my personal channel about this too. But just noticing that like quite a large amount of my plays, for example, my scripts of plays that I have, quite a lot of them were written by white people, and quite a lot were written by men, and many European as well. And when I was studying it in college, we didn't really look at things in that sort of a way. It was just like, these are important names of people who are influential, and we weren't really thinking about like, and this is a French man, and this is an English man, and this is another English man, and this is yet another white English man. You know, like, that wasn't brought up as much. So that's something that I'm looking at now. And you know, I just use the plays section of my personal library as an example, because there are a lot of like European men in particular among the playwrights that I have on my shelves at home. My fiction collection is quite overwhelmingly female authors, but there are a few male authors in there as well. Some of my fiction, like fantasy books, but a lot of them are written by women. And that's something that I've never consciously looked at before. So now I'm going through and looking up a little bit about all of these authors, because I'm just realizing that I don't really know a lot about a lot of them, because that's not usually how I pick up books. Usually it's like, oh, this is a book about witches give me it. And oh, when I was younger, oh, a book series about unicorns, hell yeah, I'm gonna read that, you know? So now as an adult, I mean, I still do that, right? I still read what I want to read, but I'm just a little more cognizant of a wider variety of information behind that and the perspective that a given author might bring to something. How many authors on my bookshelves are members of the LGBTQIA plus community and other such things like that. So a lot of us are talking about diversity, inclusivity, and representation in the pagan and witchcraft community, in the tarot and other card-based divination community as well. Lots of people on YouTube are talking about that now for various reasons. So we're looking at, you know, disability representation and destigmatization of mental health issues in all of these things, and just all kinds of stuff, right? So now I can choose a tea. My mom recently sent me this new little teapot that has an infuser area, so we'll go ahead and do a loose leaf tea. Now we can let that sit for a bit. So yeah, that's kind of a lot of what I've been doing. My birthday was last month, so I have a little bit of birthday money from my mom and my partner's parents. And so yesterday we went to our local thrift store for the first time in over a year, because we have not gone there at all during 2020. I've been avoiding doing any unnecessary trips anywhere, but I have heard that they've been really good about making people wear masks and maintain social distancing, and they've also been doing the like one-way thing through the aisles. And so I figured, okay, I have some birthday money, I'm gonna set myself a limit of $20, and I'm just gonna go, and I want to look specifically at Halloween stuff, because this is the time of year they always have Halloween stuff, so we usually go around this time. I want to look for like blankets, because we're always on the lookout for more blankets, and I want to look through the books, and that's it, and you know, as quick as possible. And so the only Halloween things, they didn't have a lot of Halloween stuff out yet, and that's kind of unusual. Usually it's all very Halloween by this time, so I don't know if that's also because of quarantine and everything like that and COVID-19 restrictions, if they're doing things a little bit differently. But one of the only Halloween things I found that I actually liked enough to get, I found this little set of 3 jack-o'-lantern mugs. They're identical, and they were like 75 cents for the set of 3. So I got these, and I also got myself something else that I'm going to be using for my tea actually here in a second, a little hand pump milk frother. Because ever since I worked at a tea parlor, I've worked at a cafe, I really like foam drinks. I like cappuccinos and things like that. And I want my own like cappuccino maker at home, like that has a built-in milk steamer to heat and froth the milk at the same time. But we found this and it was $1. So, and it's like brand new. So I got that. So that's another hobby of mine, is making myself fancy drinks at home, I suppose. But we went there and I was looking through the books. And first of all, let me say, the thrift store had good safety policies in place for dealing with people shopping during COVID-19. It really did. The policies were in place, but a lot of people were ignoring them or seemed to be unaware of them, because people were still like, we would be going down an aisle and they're one way for this time period to help people stay socially distanced. There are one-way aisles and there are markers at 6 feet so that you know, like, if a person is at the other end of the aisle, okay, you can go ahead and enter that aisle. Otherwise, wait to give people space. And people were just constantly pushing right up against me, and people were like coming at us forward. So like our cart's in the middle, it's not a very wide aisle, and people would come right up to us, to our face, and be like, excuse me, I need to get by you. And we would say, oh, I'm sorry, it's one way. We're only supposed to go through this one way to be able to social distance and avoid getting too close to people right now. And, everybody's wearing masks, but they were all like, what do you mean one way? And they look down and there's these big arrows on the floor and they're just like, oh, like they didn't even notice them. They didn't know what it was for. And there's also like announcements every 5 minutes over the loudspeaker telling people to please follow the one-way arrows on the floor. And there are signs like everywhere at eye level that say maintain 6-foot social distancing, but people are just like, glancing over them. They just don't realize they're there, or they're purposely ignoring them. I don't know. But anybody that we pointed it out to seemed really surprised that like they didn't even notice it was there. And I figure it's one of those things that like you've gone there enough times, you know the way that you usually like to walk through the aisles, so you just don't even notice if something's different. But anyway, I got to the book aisles, and miraculously, no one else was ever in the book aisles. And that really, I was like, all right, so not a lot of people here looking for books. But it was good for me because obviously the book aisles are where it takes the longest to get through them, because you can't just quickly glance and see everything that's there. You have to sit there and look at each individual title, especially if, like me, sometimes you are looking for very specific things. I'm always on the lookout for, I mentioned that when I was younger, I really liked series of books about unicorns. I have a specific book series that I believe has 8 books in the series, and at the time that I was in school, getting things from the Scholastic Book Fair, they had only come out with 6 of them. So I got the entire set of 6. But then after that, there were 2 more books, and I don't own them. And I think now the only way I've ever seen to get them is to buy the entire set of 8. And I don't need the entire set again. So I'm always just on the lookout to see if I can ever find books 7 or 8 of this series at the thrift store, because that would be a good way to get it secondhand and everything. And there are a number of other books on my just general, in my mind, want to read eventually list. So I skim through and see if I can find any of that stuff. Authors that people have recommended, or, whatever. So yesterday I was looking through, I found some plays by white European men who were influential playwrights that I learned about in college, and I hadn't read these 2 particular plays. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get those. So I did. But then I also found several other books by BIPOC authors, Black, Indigenous, or other non-Black and non-white people of color, that have been recommended to me, or like book titles that I've heard of for years, but I've never actually seen a copy of it. I've never specifically sought it out in order to read it, but there it is on the shelf, and it's like 80 cents, so like I said, I set myself that $20 limit. I got a few things for around the house. I did get myself a blanket. It's an Alice in Wonderland blanket. And my partner also got some books and graphic novels. We found a Gordon Ramsay personal blender set. We previously did not have a blender, and there are lots of things that we wanted to be able to make that require a good blender. And so we found a Gordon Ramsay personal blender kit that actually works and has all the pieces, and it's secondhand, and so it was, perfect. So we got some stuff for around the house, and I got several books, and for every book that I purchased by a white author, I got 2 by non-white authors, which I feel like is good progress of just being more aware of the books that we're choosing to purchase and diversifying the range of authors' perspectives that we get to read. And some of them are fantasy books, some of them are fiction, some of them are nonfiction, poetry, whatever genre you're interested in. All kinds of people write books within that genre. Not all publishers publish all people who write in different genres, but some do, and sometimes we have to look for them because it is not what is immediately handed to us or shown right in front of our faces. So that's the thing I've been doing lately. I'm gonna do my milk now so you can see how this works. I usually heat the milk, but I want to see how it works with cold milk, so let's do that, just because. But yeah, I've been reading and learning more about anti-racism. I have been reading a new book that just came out this year by Irisanya Moon, who is one of my Reclaiming teachers, one of my Elements teachers. It's a Pagan Portals book about reclaiming witchcraft, which is the tradition and the community that I am part of, that I consider myself a part of, and that I am learning more about and striving to be more of an active part of all the time. And so I'm reading her new Reclaiming Witchcraft book, learning even more, perhaps, about the tradition. So far, I have learned a little bit of new stuff that I didn't know previously about just like the background, a little more of the history, how the tradition operates behind the scenes. I'm not very far into it, but it is a Pagan Portals book. It's less than 100 pages. It would be a very quick read, but I am purposely, sorry, I'm also getting my drink ready here. I am purposely not rushing through it because I don't want to finish it all in one day. So I'm trying to read like a chapter per day so that it at least takes me like a week, because some of the chapters are really short. So I am doing 2 a day some of the time. Look at how cute this looks. I can't tilt it anymore toward you because I will spill it, but a little foamy milk layer. I don't have any drink stencils at home, but I do have cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice and whatever else. So I'll just put a little cinnamon on the top. Ha! Cute. So I've been reading that, and I'm also part of a cell now with the Pittsburgh Reclaiming community in Pennsylvania, because we are just building community here in my home state of Ohio. So we're not a big enough or even any size of established group yet. So I didn't feel like we needed to have our own separate representation at the upcoming Birch Council meeting. So I am participating in that through working with my friends in the Pittsburgh community. So I'm part of the cell for the Birch Council. We're talking about changes that have been proposed to our principles of unity. And that is something that, you know, I know about these sort of structural and organizational things about the tradition because I've been somewhat involved with it for the past 5 years now. But these are a lot of those things that I recognize that people looking at it from the outside, especially people who contact me about it on social media, and they're like, hey, I just heard about this tradition, or maybe I've read The Spiral Dance by Starhawk, who is one of the founding members of what later became Reclaiming as a tradition. A lot of people come to me with sort of assumptions about what it is, and there's not really a general understanding outside of the tradition and community about what reclaiming is. So let me go grab the book, actually. So this is it. It's a Pagan Portals book. It just came out earlier in 2020. I think it came out in July. And that's when I got mine anyways, toward the end of July. Irisanya Moon is the author of this one. So these are very short books. I actually have Danny Lang, Esoteric Moment, and formerly of the Pagan Perspective, to thank for introducing me to Pagan Portals. I had never heard of them before I started seeing Danny post about them, and this is the first one that I'm reading. Irisanya Moon also has another one coming out this year about Aphrodite, and another witchy YouTuber friend of mine, Olivia Church, has published a Pagan Portals book about the goddess Isis, which I do not have yet and I have not read yet, but many of you know Olivia as well from witchy YouTube, so definitely check that out if you're interested in reading more about personal accounts of how people work with different deities. And if you like Pagan Portals, I think they're really cool. I also recently learned, I'm probably very behind the ball on this, so I guess this is another thing that I'm studying or learning about recently. I recently discovered that on Android devices, if you use Google Play, the Google Play Store, there are not just games on there, which I had never realized before. You can also get audiobooks on the Google Play Store, and I was just scrolling through like audiobooks under $5 just to see what was there, and I started seeing several witchy books. So I did more investigating, And there are a lot of witchy and pagan books on the Google Play Store that you can get as ebooks and read them on your phone. So I know that's not something that everybody wants to do, is read them on a device like that. But if you do, there are a lot of them that are under $10. There are some that are more expensive, but there's really quite a wide variety that are under $5 or under $10. And there are a lot of pagan portals on there. Not this one, I don't think. I don't think I saw like new ones on there. And I know Olivia's Isis one is not on there that I've seen anyway. It's kind of hard to see everything on there. It depends on what you search. But I've seen a lot of other ones on there, and they're like $6 for the ebook to be able to read it on your device if that is something that you are a fan of doing. So I have not purchased any yet. I just realized that it's there. I don't really have a lot of big budget for books lately, which is why I've been mostly reading things through my public library system, and that's also why I went to the thrift store with a budget limit yesterday to get secondhand books. But anyway, I really appreciate so far that like this is not a book about how to do witchcraft from a reclaiming perspective, because there are already books for that. This book is like just, you know, it's a little insight into reclaiming witchcraft as a tradition. So it talks about like what our rituals tend to be like, but it's not like a script of a ritual. And it talks about things like the Birch Council and the Wheel Council and the way that groups are organized into cells, and the way that many different groups of people get together to organize things like witch camps, or the big spiral dance ritual that is held in the Bay Area of California every year since the 70s, which this year, by the way, it's going to be online, so we could all attend potentially. But it's that kind of stuff that like typically when we read a book about witchcraft, it's about how to do the witchcraft, right? It's not so much about here's how our tradition is organized as like here's how we meet nonprofit status, and like here's how we have a board of directors because we're a nonprofit, and here's how all the different communities around the entire world that are a little more spread out, here's how we sometimes get together to discuss things that affect the entire tradition as a whole, such as with Birch Council or a Dandelion Gathering, where meetings are held, meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and decision-making processes. Everything is decided by consensus decision, not majority vote. So there's just like a lot of that kind of stuff in this book that I feel like when people talk to me about reclaiming, typically that's nowhere near people's minds. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that I still don't even comprehend, even though I've been sort of tangentially aware of everything for 5 years. Because like right now, being on this like Birch Council cell with the Pittsburgh group, it's the first time that I'm part of a cell for anything, you know, so it's like there's still quite a bit more for me to learn about it too. But I'm going to enjoy my little drink now, and I will see you next time. So that's a little bit about what I've been up to, what I've been reading, studying, doing, hobbies-wise, interest-wise, planning, reading, planning what I'm reading about planning, kind of, really, to be honest, and making fancy drinks and buying secondhand books when I have birthday money, and trying to be more conscious about whose perspectives I'm reading, and just be more aware of where I can bring in more diversity of experience and background and perspective. And that is also something that I have been thinking about a lot and discussing with some people a lot, where pagan perspective is concerned as well. Certainly thinking about that here as well, and what we can do moving forward. Cheers. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. I will see you next time, and until then, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye. My partner also said now that I have this frother, I have to learn latte art. Without stencils, I don't really know how to do that yet, but this looks pretty cool to me.